Yanukovych presidency will change I think will change the politics toward these countries.
Okay, thank you.
Next question, please.
Hello once again, I'm YATA. Okay, since we had the elections in Ukraine and we have new pro-Russian government in Ukraine, do you think that this situation, like in terms of geopolitics, will create more insecure environment for Georgia and also like kind of block of progressing Georgia's and NATO's relationships?
Okay, very interesting question. Yes, we know who is Yanukovych and he is man of Kremlin and everybody knows about it. But from the other hand, Yanukovych stated that nothing will change in our bilateral relations. But from the other hand, in cooperation with NATO, we need Ukraine for the trilateral cooperation, not only bilateral cooperation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The last question, please.
We don't have a question.
Okay. And if members of the jury have any questions, okay, then thank you. The attacker on this topic is Ms. Melkadze, please.
Thank you very much. I have such a voice, but never mind. Anyway. Okay. I think that also think that Georgia's integration into North Atlantic Treaty Organization will slow down are wrong. Because, first of all, we should mention that Ukraine and Georgia do not simultaneously get new programs from NATO. The relationship between Georgia and NATO are bilateral and they are not multilateral. Like Georgia's progress is not related to the Ukraine's progress or regress. Second, Ukraine was supposed to be as a major role players in terms of energy security of Europe. Now 80% of gas which goes to Europe just runs through Ukraine. But anyway, for new projects, Georgia becomes even more important after Ukraine's slowdown, because the Nabucco project is supposed to be one of the major diversifying source of energy which runs to Europe. So I think Georgia will become even more important after Ukraine's back, because Nabucco project becomes important. And other thing what is important also is that with ISAF operation, Georgia is supposed to send 2,000 soldiers. This is unprecedented act. No member state of NATO has contributed per each person of their population such amount of soldiers. Another thing is at Istanbul summit, the special attention was paid to the Caucasus region, and the allies agreed that special attention should be paid to this region in terms of energy, and the NATO liaison office was established. I think that Georgia remains still important, and with bilateral integration, it will have progress.
Thank you. Now it's time for the questions.
Okay, you.
Tamar, Papavadze. I have such a question. Do you think that Nabucco project will be enough to replace the dependence on Russian energy supplies?
It will not be enough, but anyway, it becomes more important after Ukraine's such pro-Russian policy, because Europe has agreed that their main strategy in terms of energy is to decrease dependency on Russia. So Nabucco is still important.
Thank you. Next question.
But then Melkadze project avoids Ukraine and involves Georgia. So don't you think that this is already a notification that Ukraine's political change already affected Georgia's progress with the allies?
Well, actually, I think the Nabucco project is not related to Ukraine's position, because Ukraine is not involved anyway in this project. Nabucco project is dependent on Georgia and Georgia's progress and Georgia's involvement. And in Ukraine there was alternative project White Stream, which is under question now because of change of the government.
Okay, the last question, please.
The question is like that, if it's not affected, but what can you say about the fact that Georgia and Ukraine had always been discussed together, while even about the map, and always have been argued together when there were talks about the possibilities of NATO membership?
Well, actually, we should remember that what was NATO and who are Georgia and Ukraine. We are post-Soviet states, so NATO was our counter-dictatorial alliance a few years ago. So NATO wants more member states from post-Soviet sphere. So if NATO loses Ukraine, NATO shouldn't lose Georgia. It's my position.
Thank you. Please.
Looking back at the enlargements of NATO, especially since the dissolution of the Soviet Union, do you recall any single case when a country was taken individually rather than as a package?
Well, actually, the approach was regional, like in the case of Hungary, Poland, etc. But anyway, we can find some member states which can join with us. For instance, maybe Azerbaijan will be willing to enter NATO as well. I'm not sure about Armenia, but Azerbaijan may be just going step with Georgia in this process.
Thank you.
Hello once more. Okay, my colleague was talking about the bilateral cooperation between Georgia and NATO. Georgia, it was easy way for Georgia to join NATO with Ukraine. You remember the ways of enlargement. You remember Baltic states, for example. They joined together. Not only Lithuania or Estonia joined. They joined together. So we need Ukraine to join NATO. It's I mentioned this easily. My colleague was talking about the Nabucco pipeline that will be a guarantee for Europe's energy independence. The international community agrees today that it isn't enough because Russia is going to build Nord Stream in Europe. So it means that NATO and the international community in Europe in general needs the new ways for energy independence and such transit countries as Ukraine. And today, when the government changed in Ukraine, and we know that the president is selected, Yanukovych, we know his political aspirations, his political ideology. I suppose the course of North Atlantic Alliance will change toward Georgia. Thanks for attention, dear colleagues and dear guys.
Thank you.
Once again, I'd like to argue that Georgia will have a chance to join NATO. First of all, at Bucharest summit, Georgia was promised that one day it will become the member of NATO. And I think that the promise is not given only with words. Another thing which is important, 77% of Georgian electorate have chosen this way. At the referendum, they have assured